So the four elements to me really resemble our life force. So like earth is the physical body, water is like the emotional body, air is like our thoughts and our mind, and then fire is like our spiritual essence. I think that it just describes what our day was. I mean, it was all about nature and the elements and like everything flowing together. My name is Kaylan and I eloped on a cliffside.
My name is Blair and I eloped on a cliffside.
Well, there's a really funny story about when we got engaged. It was just a random Tuesday. I went to go make some lunch that day, and I think I had made some like eggs and quinoa. And so I'm just like moving so fast in the kitchen, I accidentally like knocked this hot sauce bottle over and it shatters everywhere. And I thought that it was far enough away from my food that it wouldn't like get into it. And so I eat like half my lunch, everything's fine. And then I take a bite and there's glass in my lunch, yeah. And so then of course like I'm Googling and so like it says I'm gonna die, right? And so I'm texting him like, I just ate glass, like I don't know what to do or what's gonna happen. And he's freaking out because he has a whole proposal.
I got a photographer lined up and she's like, I ate glass. I love it, I love it.
Since it was possibly going to rain, we were the only people on the beach. And so I don't know how I didn't notice the photographer right at first. And then, yeah, he just said some very sweet things. I could kind of tell he was getting nervous, and that's when I knew. I was like, yeah, this is happening. And then you just kind of black out when they get down on one knee, right?
We chose to do an elopement for a certain reason. And without getting too much into it, it's because we really wanted to have that moment focused on just us.
We really knew that we wanted to get married somewhere very adventurous. So we decided, okay, let's definitely go somewhere new. I just started looking at the best places to elope. And I created a Google survey. So it had like pictures, it had questions like what type of terrain do you want to see on your wedding day? Like how do you want the vibe to be? Like rating like pictures 1 through 10. And so we each took the survey individually without the other person and then compared our answers. And the number one was Brookings, Oregon.
And it was kind of wild of how our thoughts, you know, truly aligned. Like it was, we were both on the same page.
Wedding trip! I would say the days leading up to the wedding were not as stressful or like anxiety provoking as I thought that they would be. I think what helped is having such a good planning process beforehand. It was like I took that week before and really could like mentally like take off from it.
Okay, we've got our stuff packed up. 3 dresses in 1 garment bag. Guys tux. We each have 2 suitcases and 1 carry-on.
So we flew from Miami to Medford.
We was on straight adrenaline, so it was
Yeah,
great.
then had to drive over to Brookings.
And we had no clue of like the exact spot we were going to get married in.
I had like a general vision for the ceremony. I really wanted to have like this beautiful cliffside moment, but I didn't know like where I would find that. So I'm like, let's go search around. When it came to the actual spots that we picked out, I would say that like the scouting beforehand was the biggest piece in that. So I had heard of these natural bridges and they're gorgeous online, and then we get there and we hear that they're suddenly very dangerous because they've eroded so much. And then we see this couple go past this like danger sign and we're like, can you go down there? And they're like, yeah, you absolutely can go down there. And so we went down there, and I remember like just having this moment that I felt like it was one of our spots. An adventure elopement is you really have to be particular about who is going to be joining the day. And that goes for your biggest vendors, and that goes down to even like the lady who made our cake that we only saw for a little bit. So for the logistics of the time of day, I think that's what really sells an adventure elopement, is that you don't have to follow a timeline. We had a very loose plan. Everyone knew like the particular moments that were really important. Like I wanted to have a very dramatic first look. I wanted to have the ceremony moment with, you know, the song that I chose. I wanted to, you know, do these particular things throughout the day, but we didn't have to do them in a particular order. We ended up being way behind schedule the day of, and it didn't even matter. So we actually didn't end up getting married until 9 p.m.
Yeah.
Which was not on the schedule, I can say that. I was like, oh, we'll probably get married at like noon.
We just lived life and we enjoyed every single moment, in the moment, and had a blast. The fashion part of the wedding we really took serious, and that's where we got intimate in our own way, but also wanted to show the other person, you know, our love and our gratitude. So with the tux, I went to a custom tailor here in Naples. I did 5 different things that really I thought would be impressionable to Kaylan. And one was like the theme of our wedding was "Till Death Do Us Part." So that was on the, I believe, the back collar. And then one thing that we say to each other, she'll say, "I love you more," and I'll say, "Love you most." So I had "Love You Most" on the inside pocket itself, and that's actually what I had put on a ring as well. But probably I'd say the one that really was the most impressionable was we had our engagement pictures taken in St. Pete. So I had a collage of those pictures. So the whole inside lining was nothing but, you know, the family.
So the jackets were one of the first ideas that I had in the wedding planning process. I wanted to do something where we could have something matching, but do it in a different way than people have been doing it. And I knew I wanted to do it myself. So the 2 for the wedding day was one for him and one for I, and they were these black jackets that said "Till Death Do Us Part,"
Right.
which was really cool because neither of us knew that we were going to incorporate that theme so much. Like he did on his collar, I had "Till Death Do Us Part" engraved on my veil. I didn't originally plan to have 3 dresses, but it just kind of happened that way. Originally, I went out to Minnesota and I just thought it's a good opportunity to go wedding dress shopping with my girlfriends. And this was like at the very beginning of our process. There was this one thin strap slip dress that was there, and I really loved it when I tried it on, and there had to be some changes made to it, but I could see like the vision of it.
That was the first look.
Yeah, the unofficial first look was done in that dress. So the second dress was this long sleeve dress, and this one I found in Florida later on. I really took to that dress. I loved the long sleeves. I loved the flow of it. I thought it was really unique. So that was the one for our official first look. But the official first look was incredible. It was a moment that I truly thought I was on a finale episode of The Bachelor. I get led like down this beautiful grassy hill. Blair is standing on this grassy hill overlooking like this big rock formation in the ocean. Like it's just this wild, out of this world place. It was just you and I out there in the middle of the world. Like it didn't matter about anything else.
That is one thing that I'll say for anybody that wants to do an adventure elopement, you know, it's okay to take certain times just to yourself, and you can still have them captured.
Yes.
You know, because these vendors are very creative, but that was like our intimate moment.
That was our first special intimate moment of the day, was the first look, which made it so much more impactful. When we were leaving the beach from the first look, we wanted to get some car shots. And so this was like a moment I was looking forward to all day, because I had a vision. It was of us driving and getting a drone shot of us driving the car with the cliffs in the background, and I could hear it to particular music. So I looked everywhere to try and find a company that would rent out classic cars, and I couldn't find anything. And then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna join some local Facebook pages for the area. So then there's this one man, Paul, and he just wanted to do it for free.
Yeah.
He wanted to borrow us his baby of a car on our wedding day, 2 strangers from
Yep.
across the country.
57 Thunderbird. And ironically,
They got married the same day that we met, October 17th. And so we end up doing this drone shot, and then Eugene gets all crazy and goes, film yourself in the car while you guys are driving.
You can also record yourself.
Okay.
You see?
Yeah.
Selfie mode.
Yes. Okay, cool. And I looked at him like he had 18 eyeballs because I know that those cameras are so expensive. And I was like, I feel like I can't do this. And it's one of the most epic shots in our film. When we went to head towards the ceremony, well, first I had to get my hair redone on the side of the road, which was the exact thing of an adventure elopement that you'd think of. So I'm hustling, bustling down to the spot because I'm just ready to get married at this point. Andrea had to carry my dress in her backpack, dress number 3, because dress number 3 could not be hiked in. That dress was really symbolizing like earth elements. It had flowers all over it. So we finally get down, and then that's when I had to get naked on a cliff and get my dress on, which is another piece of the day that was a little unconventional. You know, you don't think about changing into your dress in the middle of the open public. The ocean is all-encompassing. It is beautifully powerful, yet gentle and welcoming. Exhilarating, yet comforting. Constant, consistent, and continual. Unforgiving in its pursuits. Blair, you have become my ocean. I really wanted our day to end in a way that was still fun, even though we weren't having a giant, you know, like reception, like a traditional wedding.
Yeah.
And so for us, that was going back and eating cake on the floor with a fork.
so our cake, first and foremost, was probably the only thing that came from Brookings, Oregon. She was a retired detective out of California.
She's like, I used to investigate all these homicides, and so I started making cakes.
Yeah.
Like as like a self-care.
Yeah, that was
and
her
now it's like a
self-care.
business. I'm like, yes, like I love that, a balance.
Right,
Homicides and cakes. Okay, so a video was super important to us. I remember when I first brought up the topic, Blair was like, well, what are they gonna video? Like, what do we need a video for? And I was like, honey, I'm gonna show you an example of a video. And then when I showed the Drake's example, he was like, oh my God,
right.
we need a video. Photos are amazing, and they're to be cherished in their own way. But a video, it pulls at your emotions in another way. It brings you right back to the moment.
Yes. We had the reaction that we thought we would get for the reason we chose, you know, an elopement, but we chose it because we wanted it to be about us and not about family members and worrying about, you know, how certain people would react. But then we had a ton of support, way more support than we could ever have imagined.
You know, I think that's really what happens when you make the choice to do this type of wedding for yourself. And that's really the reason you're doing it, because it's about the relationship, it's about the day, like those are your intentions. You really don't have to worry about people's reactions because it doesn't matter.